The Forest Grove sound refers to a perplexing auditory phenomenon that occurred in Forest Grove, Oregon, during February 2016. Residents reported hearing a high-pitched mechanical screeching noise, often described as resembling a giant flute played off pitch, faulty car brakes, or a steam whistle. The sound typically lasted from 10 seconds to several minutes and was primarily heard at night near Gales Creek Road. The sound in the trees, inspired by real events in Forest Grove, Oregon, February 2016. Forest Grove wasn't the kind of place where strange things happened. People there mowed their lawns in straight lines. They waved to their neighbors, watched the news, trusted the weatherman. It was the kind of town where everything had a reason. Until that February. The first report came from a woman named Diane Fletcher, who lived on the edge of town off Gales Creek Road. It was 11:40 at night. She was closing her chicken coop when she heard a shrill noise like metal under pressure or brakes screeching on rusted tracks. She looked toward the road. Nothing. The noise grew louder, rising in pitch until it seemed to bore into her ears, like the air itself was vibrating. It lasted maybe 3 minutes. Then silence. The next day, Diane mentioned to a clerk at the gas station. The clerk nodded. You heard it too? Within 48 hours, over a dozen people had reported the same sound, mostly at night, always with no visible source. A mechanic said it made him think of a bad fan belt, but louder, more artificial. A high school janitor said it sounded like a train wreck being pulled through a keyhole. By the end of the week, the Forest Grove Police Department had received over 200 calls. Local news ran stories. Cell phone videos surfaced online. But no two recordings were the same. In some, the sound was long and droning, like a siren echoing through water. In others, it was sharp, staccato, like metallic clicks layered over a scream. What unsettled people the most wasn't just the sound, it was how it behaved. It didn't echo. It didn't bounce off buildings or fade naturally. It just stopped like someone flipping a switch. People swore it wasn't coming from the sky or the ground or the woods. It was coming from everywhere at once. I stood in my yard with flashlight, said Mike Abernathy, a retired long-haul trucker. The trees weren't moving. The dogs weren't barking. There was no wind. But the sound? It was all around me, like I was inside it. The investigation. The city called in experts. Northwest Natural Gas ruled out pipeline issues. The fire department confirmed it wasn't any local alarms. Forestry officials tested for malfunctioning equipment. Even engineers were brought in. Nothing. Tobin Cooley, a respected audio analyst, examined a recording and suggested it might be escaping pressurized gas, maybe from an industrial valve somewhere. But that didn't explain why it wasn't directional. That tone doesn't behave normally, he said. It should reflect bounce. You should be able to trace it back. But it just exists. The mystery caught national attention. Theories range from seismic activity to secret government experiments. The more imaginative blamed UFOs. A few quietly spoke of something ancient in the forest waking up. Then, as suddenly as it began, the sound stopped, the whisper that remained. By March, the media had moved on, but not everyone in Forest Grove was ready to forget. Samantha Reed, the high school teacher, kept hearing it. Not the sound itself, at least not in full, but echoes. Whispers in the trees when she walked her car at night. Static bursts in the walls of her old farmhouse. I thought I was losing it, she admitted in an online forum 6 months later. But then one night, around 2 a.m., I heard it again. Just for a second, it was like a breath, and I swear it moved past my window. Her story didn't go viral, but others chimed in. A cyclist who heard it along a forest trail near Fernhill Wetlands. A nurse on the night shift who said the hospital lights flickered just before the sound came, faint and far away, like it was hiding. People began noticing a pattern. The places where the sound had been strongest, the edges of town near the tree line, those were the places where wildlife started acting strangely. Owls screeched in the middle of the day. Dogs whined at windows with their heads low. One woman said her backyard squirrels vanished entirely. Even the trees seemed to lean differently. What the ranger saw. One account never made the papers. It came from a former park ranger named Calvin Reese. He'd worked in the Tillamook State Forest for 30 years, retired in 2015, but still did volunteer trail checks. In mid-March, weeks after the sound supposedly ended, he was hiking a closed path west of town when he heard it. It wasn't loud this time, he said, but it was there, thin, like something breathing through a flute. He followed it for over an hour, deeper into the woods. The trees grew denser. The air got wrong. He couldn't describe it any other way. Then, ahead of him, the trees thinned into a small glade. In the middle stood a single pine tree, taller than the rest, its trunk covered in long vertical scars like something had clawed upward. And beneath it, a hole. It wasn't big, he said, maybe 4 feet wide. Perfectly round. No roots disturbed. Just black, like it was burned into the earth. He didn't go near it. The sound got louder as he stood there. Not shrill now, more like a hum, vibrating his chest. He backed out of the glade without turning around. When he returned with another volunteer the next day, the hole was gone. Not filled in, gone. The pine tree was still there, but the bark was smooth, unmarked. Calvin stopped volunteering after that. The silence now. Years have passed. The sound hasn't returned. Not officially. But every so often, someone posts on a Forest Grove community board. Did anyone else hear that last night? Or, my dog started howling around 2 a.m. No reason. No one talks about it openly anymore. But in town, you'll still see people glance toward the trees with unease. And if you stand very still on a quiet night, where the suburbs bleed into forest, you might hear it too. Not loud, not even distinct. Just a pressure in the air. A sound that isn't there, but somehow still waiting.